2025. This case is pending here in Caldwell County, Texas. Today's date is September 28, 2023, and we're set today in the court's docket for a permanency review before final order. Additionally, the court does note that the Department of Family and Protective Services filed a motion concerning the UCCJEA, so I'd like to cover that today too. If we can have announcements of the attorneys, starting with the department, please.
Cindy Sexton for the department.
Okay. Ms. Bartlett.
Tiffany Crouch Bartlett, standing in for Tracy Harding, attorney for respondent mother.
Okay, Mr. Hilla.
I'm a sinner for Sloan, Father Sloan. He should be on Zoom ready.
Okay, Mr. Clark is in fact here. Go ahead, Ms. Ochoa.
Anya Ochoa, attorney ad litem for the children.
Okay, the court notes we also have the Department of Family and Protective Services with us today, as well as placement and CASA. Ms. Sexton, who would you like to call first?
Mr. Hill. And where are they currently placed?
They are placed in their cousin's home, the Vavras.
And how are they doing in that placement?
Both of the kids are doing exceptionally well and making a lot of progress. Addie is 7 and she is in the 2nd grade. So far, she seems to be doing well in school. I think there's some minor behavioral issues, but nothing too serious at this time. She really enjoys going to school. She's still in gymnastics. And I think she even started a cheer team that she's really, really excited for. She's super great at tumbling. She's current on her medical and dental. She's overall a happy child. Roman, he is 2. He is starting to be more verbal, starting to warm up to me more. It did take him some time. He is in daycare full time and has his little friends that he likes to socialize with. He is also current on his medical. I believe he needs a couple more shots to be fully caught up, but he is current on his dental. Overall, both of the kids are doing really well.
Okay. And is Addie currently in therapy?
Yes, she is. She is attending therapy weekly. She did have a therapist change at the beginning of August. She really, really liked her old therapist. So she is still working on building that safe environment with her new therapist. But overall, therapy is going pretty well.
Okay. And as far as Miss Williford, do you know where she is right now?
She is in Cinecourt, a 28-day residential treatment program in Tyler, Texas.
And when did she start that program?
She entered that treatment last Wednesday.
Okay. And when is her estimated release date, if you know?
It's 28 days. So I believe whenever I spoke to her, she is expected to finish middle to late October.
Okay. And has she admitted to any recent drug use to you?
She has. I did meet with her in person on August 31st at the CPS office. And at that time, she did disclose that she had used methamphetamines a couple of days prior.
Okay. And where is she? How is she doing in the rest of her services?
She is not in any services. She struggled with housing. She was on the verge of being evicted. She has, prior to her going into treatment, she had just moved in with a male friend. I'm not exactly too sure of his information. Haven't been able to get that from her. As far as employment, she has bounced around from several jobs throughout the case. She is supposed to be able to go back to her job. She was working at security. She is supposed to be able to go back once she finishes treatment in Austin, is where that place of employment is. She wasn't, over the past couple of months, she wasn't maintaining as frequent contact with me as she had been in the past. She was discharged unsuccessfully from protective parenting. She had last attended on June 2nd. She had completed 6 of the 12 sessions. She was in outpatient drug treatment. However, she did report that she was still continuing to use and she wasn't going to the full sessions. They were twice a week for a couple of hours, and she would go maybe once or twice, but not stay for the full session. She had not been drug testing for me. The last test she did for me was at the end of April. Individual counseling, she was unsuccessfully discharged with Miss Mendoza in August after not showing up for a month. And then she rescheduled for an August session and then didn't show up to that one.
Okay. So is she in compliance and partial compliance or not in compliance with her family plan of service?
I would say at this time, she's not in compliance with her service.
Okay. And has she been visiting with the children?
She's able to visit as often as she wants to. Over the past couple of months, there was some issues with visitation. She would let the placement know that she was going to come and then reschedule and then maybe not show up. So I do believe the last time she saw the kids was the beginning of August.
Okay. And have you been in contact with Mr. Sloan Clark?
It's been very minimal. It's been hard to communicate with him. He is residing out of state, so we do try to FaceTime at least once a month, and he tries to keep me updated through texting, but we do have trouble once we schedule the video calls if he's actually available, or it takes him a while for him to get back to me.
Okay. And right now he's court ordered not to have any visitation. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what services, if any, is he working on?
Mr. Clark, he's not engaging in services. He is participating in a domestic abuse intervention project through Louisiana. That was part of his criminal case that was here in Caldwell County. So that case has been dropped. However, he's still continuing to go to that program, and he was recommended 24 group sessions.
And are there any other services in Louisiana that you've been able to help set up for him?
I did inform Mr. Clark that he is responsible for payment of services, but he is aware of what services he needs to go through. But he is under the impression that the Domestic Abuse Intervention Project is covering individual counseling and domestic violence and parenting. However, when I spoke to the counselor, it is not.
So it's only covering domestic violence and not protective parenting and therapy. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And right now, has the permanency goal in this case changed?
It is adoption by the current placement.
Okay. Besides the parents, have there been any other relatives that have been able to visit with the children?
The Miss Williford's grandmother, Miss Kathy Williams, she was visiting. However, there had been some concerns and some issues that arose between her and the placement. So the placement no longer feels comfortable supervising those visitation. So they have not been occurring.
Okay. And have you heard from Mr. Clark's mother?
Yes, she will text me and request updates of the case and request that Roman and both Addie be able to be placed with her.
And what is the department's position on that?
The department is not in agreement with that.
Okay. And we are set for trial in this case at the end of November. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other updates for the court?
No, not at this time.
Is the department asking that mediation be ordered?
Yes.
Okay. I pass the witness.
Ms. Crouch Bartlett,
No questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Hilla,
Father Sloan wants placement with his children. What are the obstacles?
He is not engaged in services, and we are concerned with the domestic violence that was occurring between him and Miss Williford, as well as outcries that Addie has made against him.
Thank you. Pass the witness.
Ms. Ochoa,
No questions.
Ms. Sexton, any redirect?
No, sir. Thank you.
Any other witnesses?
No, sir.
Ms. Crouch Bartlett, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Hilla,
No witness.
Ms. Ochoa, any witnesses you wish to call?
I would like to call Miss Vavra, the
Ms.
placement.
Ochoa.
Miss Vavra, what after school activities are the kids involved in?
Addie goes to a gym every day after school for their after school program. They are able to do tumbling, ninja classes, dance, and cheer. So she does that every day. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, she stays after that and does a chant class, which is a cheer thing. She just started that in this month. It was when the program started. They've got her working as a flyer already, which she really loves and is perfect for her because she's not scared of anything. So that's for Addie. We do go to the ballpark quite frequently for my sons that play baseball. So she loves being there. She's made some really good friends with siblings on several teams. And so she's running around, climbing trees, having a good time at the ballpark several times a week. Roman is not in any extracurricular activities per se. He does go to daycare every day. He does great there. He's happy to go in. When they first started daycare, he would cry and cling to me, but now he just walks right in and ignores me most of the time. But he's doing great. Same thing. He's at the ballpark with us quite frequently. He loves baseball. He, cheers for my son. Even this morning, sitting at the breakfast table, he was, "Let's go, William," and clapped his hands. But he loves to watch baseball. He is right up there holding onto the chain fence, cheering for the game and running around and playing in the mud and having a good time. But we'll start him in baseball if he's still with us as soon as we're able to, because he is obsessed.
And how has Roman changed since when he was first placed in your home to how he is now?
Roman is a completely different child. When he first was placed with us, he was throwing tantrums quite frequently. He was slamming his head on the tile floor constantly. We were concerned that he was going to seriously hurt himself, and even talked to our pediatrician about getting a helmet or something like that for him to protect him. Fortunately, he has stopped that behavior. He will throw a tantrum still. He's 2 years old, but he sits on the floor and he cries, or he screams, or he'll even lay down on the floor and put his head in his hands. But he does well with redirection. He'll go to his room and sit there and cry it out for a minute, and then he comes back out and he's fine. He is talking. He uses full sentences, which, not everyone understands, but my husband and I get them most of the time because we're with him constantly. Like I said, he'll talk about going to the ballpark. When I pick up my purse and I'm leaving to go somewhere, he's like, I want to go. So he's very verbal. He is a happy, smiley, silly kid. He is a daredevil, which my 4-year-old is as well. And he does everything that Roman does everything that my son does. He jumps off of stuff and climbs on tables, and it's terrifying, but he does it all. And he's happy and he's thriving. He's doing really well. He was terrified of men whenever he was first placed with us, and that is not a concern at all anymore. He loves my husband. He snuggles with him. He has no issues with them. And then even, if we have friends over or something, he has no problem, walking up to our friends and saying hi. And he's, there are no concerns for Roman. He's doing great.
And what about Addie? What changes have you seen in Addie since she's been placed with you?
Addie's definitely gotten more comfortable. She is becoming her true self with us. I think, she is seeing that it's okay to be sassy with us and to, have a little bit of an attitude, which she, was a pretty easygoing child, and she still is, but she's getting more comfortable in having those moments, that any kid would have. She is outgoing and friendly. We have no issues with her making friends. Like I mentioned, she makes them quite easily. She is open. She asks questions about what's happening in her life. She, wants to know what's going on. And, we explain things to her in ways that she can understand, and then also talk to her therapist about it. And she wants to know those things, but she understands them too. And she's processing them. She'll write things down. She draws pictures. She's, just a really smart, thriving child. She's doing great in school. She has been, when she came with us, she wasn't reading quite yet. She is reading now and loves it. She is still writing some of her letters and numbers backwards, which we've got some 504 accommodations in place at school for that to try and help address that. And then we work with her at home as well. She likes math a lot. She loves to dig in the dirt and play with bugs, and it's not my jam, but she's all about it. So she's just a happy, normal 7-year-old.
And how important do you think permanency is to Addie?
I think that she needs it desperately. She has recently been asking a lot of questions about what's going on, when we're going to talk to the next person. She has a friend from the ballpark that recently was adopted through the foster care system, and that friend told her she was being adopted. And so Addie has questions about that and what that looks like. And so I think that she really is craving that closure and wants to know where she's going to be. She's asked us a lot of questions about what happens next.
Okay. No further questions.
Ms. Sexton, any questions from Ms. Favre?
No, thank you.
Ms. Crouch-Bartlett?
Just briefly, Your Honor, thank you. Ms. Favre, would you be willing to facilitate one phone call a week with the children's mother until she's discharged from her treatment?
Absolutely. So Ashley has called me twice since she's been in treatment. She called me the day after she got there and let me know that she was there still, and that she was going to be doing the 28-day program, and then told me she would be able to call weekly. She called me this past Saturday. We were at the ballpark because we're always there. And I was in the dugout, so I wasn't able to facilitate a phone call, but I asked her and said, hold on, I'll pass the phone to my father-in-law. He can, supervise while you talk to Addie. And she asked me, she said, that's okay. Just tell them I love them. And I'm absolutely willing to do that. We've had no issues with Ashley. It's been a really great relationship.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Hilla, any questions from Ms. Favre?
No,
Ms. Ochoa, any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Ochoa, do you have any other report and recommendations you'd like to make to the court today?
Your Honor, I went to go visit both of the children. Roman is doing really well. He is very friendly. He has his little place in daycare. He's just doing his thing. And he is talking more. He's just a very happy child. Addie, I went to go visit her. Based on our conversation and some of her behaviors, I'm still a little bit concerned that she's a little bit boy crazy. She's not the only child in her class who's boy crazy, but I think given some of her sexual acting out behaviors during this case, in light of that lens, it still kind of concerns me. I brought it up with Ms. Vavra, and Ms. Vavra is aware of it. She's keeping an eye on it. Other than that, I think Addie's been doing really well. She is working with her therapist. She loves gymnastics. She's very active. She's really great at gymnastics, and she's very, very social. I just think she's very happy. She's content. I do think it's really important that she have some permanency because she's asking all the questions. And there was one point where I think all of them, she was kind of arguing a little bit with Miss Vavra's children, and there was a he said, she said, and they were just kind of arguing back and forth. And when Miss Vavra asked Addie what was going on, she made a comment that, William's lucky, like he knows who his mom is and he knows where he's going to sleep at night or something to that effect. And I don't have that. And, she was just very upset about the lack of certainty in her life. And so I think it's really important that we keep that in mind. I am asking for mediation to be set in this case so that we can have some permanency for these children.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ochoa. And I'd like to hear from Casa. So, what would Casa like me to know today about this family?
Really just that the kids are thriving in their current placement. I got to visit with Addie yesterday, and she's really doing very well. School-wise, we heard from her teacher, so just really echoing everything that Ms. Ochoa said. She is very mature for her age. It's very easy to talk to her. You can just tell she just feels like she's lived a long life for someone who's 7. I do agree that the kiddos really need some permanency, specifically Addie, right? I don't think Roman really knows any better, but Addie does. And she's happy in her current placement. She loves her mother, obviously, and is very bonded with her. But I know that placement has had no issues keeping mom involved and would have no issues in the future keeping mom involved, which is amazing. It's really best case scenario for them. And Roman's great. I just agree. He's such a happy kid. He's so precious, very easy to be around. They just seem very comfortable and trying to think of the word, comfortable and just like they've acclimated, right? They're very much a part of the family.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Section, I didn't mean to skip over all the UCCJEA issues, but can you go ahead and tell us about the department's motion and
Yes.
what it is, if anything, you're seeking?
Yes, sir. I filed a motion for UCCJEA because we do have a case out of Louisiana. Specifically on July 15th, Mr. Clark had filed a petition for affiliation, they call it affiliation, child custody, and objection to relocation. There do not appear to be any final orders, but I do show that that has been filed, petitions regarding custody of Addie. I'd like the case to continue here. I've sent an email out to the attorneys asking them if they were in agreement with that. I've heard back from Ms. Ochoa and Ms. Harding saying that they are. I have not heard anything back from Mr. Hilly.
So, Mr. Hill, tell us what you and your client's position are as far as whether the case you would like to be heard here in Texas or heard in Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Louisiana, okay, and tell me why that is, Mr. Hill.
Because my client works there, lives there.
And okay, so I will contact the courts in Louisiana and have a discussion with them. But as I understand it, the attorney's input in this case is that all attorneys, with the exception of Mr. Hill, would like to see the case done here in Texas. That Mr. Hill and his client, Mr. Clark, object to the case being moved to Texas. So I'll relate that to the court. I'll discuss that with them. So Ms. Section, I will need information for the case, where,
Yes, sir.
like what county it's filed in, if there's a known cause number in a court that's assigned to. That way we can try to look it up and, speak court to court.
Yes, sir. I have that information. I'll forward it to Bertha.
Okay, make sure anything you send to me, you also, or to the court, you also send everybody else so they're well aware of what's being sent. I will say if there's any other party that wants to send any documentation about the case in Louisiana, please forward that to Ms. Jacobs, as well as serving that on all other attorneys in the case. I can't make any promises about how quickly that will occur. Sometimes it occurs quick, sometimes it's slow. So I'll do my best to reach out to the court and then report back to the parties as to the decision made by the two courts. Okay, Mr. Hill, anything else on behalf of your client as to the case today?
My client would like to have visits with his son.
Okay. And anything else, Mr. Hill?
Nope.
Okay, Ms. Crouch-Swarrow, anything on
I
behalf
think you're
of Ms.
better off
Harding's client?
asking the court for 60 days so you can reach out to the company to do that. Is it okay with you?
Okay, repeat that, Mr.
I don't
Hill.
have authority like they would. I'm just local counsel. Okay. Go back to the judge. We ask for 90 days.
Okay,
you.
well, you're not muted, Mr. Hill, and you're doing two cases at the same time. So make sure to bill them for your other case, not this one. Ms. Crouch-Swarrow.
Thank you, Your Honor. The only request I have is that mediation be ordered. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Section, anything else from the department today?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, based on the testimony today, the court does continue the placement of both children with the Vibra family. I find their placement is meeting all their physical and emotional needs, and it's the least restrictive placement at this time. I am glad to hear that the mother in this case is at drug rehab. I think that's a great first step for Ms. Wilford. Hopefully it works out successfully for her. Based upon the testimony of the witnesses, I do find that no parent in this case is in compliance with their court order plans of service, and I will order mediation in this case prior to trial. Our current trial setting in this case is set for November 9th, 2023 at 1:30 p.m. Again, November 9th at 1:30. Okay, any other issues we need to take up today?
No, sir. I just wanted everybody to know that if we're not able to reach an agreement at mediation, I will be asking for a special setting for our trial.
Okay, sounds appropriate. Thank you, Ms. Sexton. 28, it's 9:30, so we're set today on the court's docket for a status hearing. We can have announcements of the attorney, starting with the department, please.
Cindy Sexton for the department.
Okay, Ms. Crouch-Bartlett.
Tiffany Crouch-Bartlett, attorney for respondent mother, Callie Williams. And Your Honor, I was waiting in the waiting room for several minutes, just so you know. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. All of a sudden, you just popped up, so I'm glad you made it. Mr. Manuel?
Zach Mello, attorney for respondent father. He's present. We're ready.
Okay, so the court also notes that we have our parents with us today, Ms. Callie Williams and Mr. Jermaine Williams, as well as the department. We also have a representative today with us observing from Superior Health. So if there's any health issues we need to get out in the open, please make sure to cover those so that she can hopefully help us in the background. Ms. Section, who would you like to call as witness?
I'd like to call Candy Pratt.
Okay, Ms. Pratt.
Please.
They're placed in Eagle Lake with their grandmother.
And how are they doing in that placement?
They're doing really good there.
Is she able to meet all of their needs?
She is, yes.
Any health concerns that that Superior Health needs to be made aware of?
Nope, they're happy, healthy, energetic little boys.
Okay. And have since our last hearing, have the parents been visiting with the boys?
Yes, they do. They visit on weekends.
Okay. And is that every weekend?
Yes, every weekend. They had a car accident recently, so they've missed a couple of days, but for the most part, they've been there. They have been there every weekend, at least one of the 2 days.
And have there been any concerns reported regarding the visits?
No, no concerns.
Okay. And have the parents recently moved?
They have. Just this week, they've moved back to the Eagle Lake area.
And that's over by, where's that by?
It is near the grandmother's home.
Okay. And has a service plan been prepared for Ms. Williams?
Yes, it has.
Has she reviewed and signed it?
She has reviewed it. I think she has now signed it. I haven't yet received the signed copy, but yes, she has.
Okay. And what services are we asking her to work?
For Ms. Williams, we're asking, the first one is that she obtain and maintain legal and verifiable employment. Number 2 is actively participate and successfully complete protective parenting class. We're also asking that she actively participate in and successfully complete a nurturing families class. Number 4, we're asking that she actively participate and successfully complete individual therapy. We're also asking that she complete a psychological evaluation. We're asking that she complete a drug alcohol assessment and follow all recommendations. We're asking that she submit to random drug tests within 8 hours of department's request. We're also asking that she initiate face-to-face contact with her caseworker.
Okay, and are you asking for that to be made in order of the court?
Yes, I am.
Has Ms. Williams been able to start any of her services?
She actually has. She's done quite a bit so far. She's already actively in protective parenting. She's done her OSAR and is working on IOP right now. She's in individual therapy with Dr. Nunley. Already done her psychological evaluation. She's got a good start on things.
And is she, have you asked her to submit to any drug tests since the last hearing?
I have, and that's the one thing that so far she has not done.
How many times have you asked her to drug test?
3 times this month.
And she has not taken any of those drug tests?
No, she has not.
Okay. And have you prepared a family plan of service for Mr. Williams?
Yes, I have.
And what are you asking him to do?
And we're asking that Mr. Williams complete an OSAR alcohol and drug assessment. We're asking that he do random drug tests. We're asking that he actively participate and successfully complete protective parenting class. We're asking that he participate in and successfully complete the nurturing families class. We're asking that he actively participate in and successfully complete individual therapy. We're asking that he complete a psychological evaluation and that he initiate contact with his caseworker monthly.
And has he had a chance to review and sign the family plan of service?
Yes, he has.
Both?
They both have. I just haven't received the signed copies yet, but they have both told me that they've signed it and they've reviewed it.
Okay. And are you asking for that to be made in order of the court?
Yes, I am.
Have you asked Mr. Williams to go drug test?
Yes, I have.
The same 3 times that you asked Ms. Williams?
That's correct.
And has he gone to drug test?
No, he has not.
And what excuses, if any, if the parents given you as to why they haven't drug tested?
They have had issues with transportation because of the accident. And just most recently, they are out of area. So I have to get a courtesy worker to be able to send them. They're in area 6. So I have to get a courtesy worker, and I've requested that, just have not received a confirmation that a worker has actually been assigned yet.
Okay. I pass the witness.
Ms. Crouch-Warley.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Pratt, with regard to the trouble with the drug testing, do you foresee being able to drug test Ms. Williams within the next week or 2 in the Eagle Lake area?
That is my hope, yes.
Okay. And if that drug test is negative at the UA, would the department be willing to agree to additional visitation time during the week to help the placement with cooking, meals, and bath time for Ms. Williams?
At this time, I would have to staff that with my supervisor, but I would think at this time we need a little more time under our belt before we agree to that.
Okay, thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Mailwell.
Yes, Ms. Pratt. You didn't go over which services Mr. Williams has already engaged in. Can you tell the court what he's done already?
He has done the psychological evaluation. I actually have a text message here. He has started protective parenting. I think he was starting the nurturing families, but that hasn't gone forward because of the accident. He was in the hospital and had some surgeries, but he's had a good jump on his services as well at this early stage.
Okay. Has he also completed his OSAR?
Yes, he did. Actually, he did.
Okay. And he's also
there was no recommendations for that.
Okay, perfect. And he's also engaged in individual therapy, correct?
Yes, he is.
Now, when you mentioned that they're attending their visits, can you tell the court how frequently those visits are?
The visits are on Saturdays and Sundays from 1 to 7. So they have 6 hours each day. And in the beginning of the case, the first several weeks, they were there both days for 6 hours each day. And then they had the car accident and they weren't able to go the day they had the car accident. And then they had transportation issues. So they weren't there both days for the last couple of weeks. But now that they're closer in there, they'll be able to be there both days, I would assume.
Okay. And do you know when they were present, were they parenting? Were they taking care of the kids, making
That's
meals?
my understanding. Yeah, Miss Erdy said that there's no issues, that they jump right in. They're helping with the kids. They're playing with them outside. They're, doing activities. Yeah, they're present.
Okay, and I just want to go back to your statement that you need to staff this and the department is not necessarily to that point where you want to give weekday visits. I guess my question would be, if you're trusting this grandmother to be protective and supervise these visits, what reason would there be for them not to be able to go over on weeknights to be able to help with dinner and bedtime?
Well, they still have a lot of classes to attend, and they need time to take care of all that. Like I said, I would have to staff with my supervisor.
Okay, what about holidays?
I don't see any reason why we couldn't staff for holidays and they'd be able to be there for holidays. I don't see any reason why that would be a problem.
Okay, no further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Wilson.
Questions, Your Honor. Could you
Okay,
hear
Ms.
me?
Sexton.
No questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Bartlett. Any other questions of Ms. Pratt?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Sexton, any other witnesses you wish to call?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Crouch-Bartlett, any witnesses you wish to call?
Yes, Your Honor, I would call my client, Callie Williams.
Go ahead, Ms. Crouch-Bartlett.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Williams, in addition to completing your psychological evaluation and your OSAR evaluation, beginning protective parenting and individual therapy, are you also participating in intensive outpatient treatment?
Yes, ma'am.
And
oh, go ahead.
when did you begin the intensive outpatient?
I began that on September 5th.
Okay, and how is that going?
It's going well. It's Monday through Thursday from 5 to 7, and on Thursdays it's from 5 to 6. And then I just went over my treatment plan with the counselor, and so he expects me to be able to complete to complete the treatment plan within the 8 weeks. So I'm about 3.5 weeks into it.
And are you currently using any illegal substances?
No, ma'am.
And have you missed drug tests because you were using at that time?
Objection.
No, ma'am.
That's okay. Go ahead, Ms. Crouch-Bartlett.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Williams, could you just briefly explain why you missed 3 drug tests as requested by Ms. Pratt?
Yes, part of it was due to transportation. The first one, to be honest, we were waiting to hear back, or we had contacted our attorneys because when we had a positive drug test prior to the boys being taken away, I felt like it was thrown back in our face. And so I just wanted to confirm that at that point with the hair follicle that it would be a positive test and what the impact was back on our case. And so then the request after that had been due to transportation, and we let Candy know that, Ms. Pratt, once she'd sent the request over.
So at this time, are you willing and able to go and take a drug test within the 8 or 12-hour time frame in the Eagle Lake area if Ms. Pratt requests one?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Matwell.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, ma'am. In your treatment program, have they requested a drug test there?
No, sir.
And when is the last time you used any illegal substance?
It was back on around September 3rd.
And what is your sobriety date?
September 4th.
Okay. And are you employed?
I'm sorry?
Are you employed? Do you have a job?
Oh, I'm currently looking for a job right now.
And what about your husband? Is he employed?
He's self-employed, and so he's looking at contracts down in this area. All the contracts we had were in the Austin area. So.
And do either one of you have a car seat?
Yes.
And do you have more than one?
Well, I mean, the car seats are with Miss Erdy at this point, since we don't drive with the boys or anything.
So you've given your testimony is you've given the car seats to Miss Erdy?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll pass this.
Ms. Sexton.
Ms. Williams, what was the illegal substance that you used on September 3rd?
It was meth.
And when you used meth on September 3rd, was your husband with you?
No.
Okay. I pass the witness.
Any redirect, Ms. Crouch-Bartlett?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Matwell, any witnesses you wish to call?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Mr. Wilson, any witnesses?
No witnesses, Your Honor. Would you like to hear my report?
Yes, sir.
So, the boy doing well, as you heard, the paternal grandmother. I would ask a finding for good cause for not visiting them in person because they're in Eagle Lake, and that's quite a drive. And I don't feel like I need to go down there right now. It is the age of the children, and it is a family placement. But
Mr. Wilson, you're breaking up pretty bad. Okay, so while Mr. Wilson's working on his audio, Ms. Sexton, anything specific the department is requesting today?
No, sir.
Mr. Manuel, anything on behalf of your client?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Williams has engaged in his services. I believe he started most of these at the end of August. So he's going on almost a month into most of these services that he started. The visitation has been going very well. It's with a grandmother where they're able to go and help out. So obviously our request is going to be that pending a clean drug test, since that seems to be the issue in the case right now, that pending a clean drug test, that the parents be allowed to be able to go over and help out on weeknights when they don't have classes, as long as it's not interfering with any of their services. So they can go help with dinners and bedtime and things like that. The visitation is supervised, and there has not been any reported issues. So with the level of engagement that the parents are showing in their services, obviously the transportation is an issue. They had a car accident. That's why they're struggling to get there. I would say my client also has had, you can see his hand up in the camera here, he's had surgery on his hand, I believe twice, due to that car accident. So it was pretty bad. But we're requesting that they be able to get that additional visitation as long as it's supervised and not interfering with their services.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manuel. Ms. Crouch-Bartlett?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Without repeating everything that Mr. Manuel said, I would echo all of his requests for Ms. Williams, who is actively engaging in all of her services, with the exception, I think, of the nurturing parenting, which she will engage in after she finishes her IOP. And pending a clean drug test, would request that if it is clean, that she be allowed to spend up to 10 hours a week helping with dinner time and giving the boys baths and bedtime. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Wilson, is your audio better, sir?
I hope so. Is it better, Your Honor?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. So I was saying that I was requesting a good cause finding for not visiting the children in person because they're in Eagle Lake, and I don't believe at this point I'm comfortable because it's a family placement and the age of the children. So if I need to go down there, I'll request permission from the court if that's okay. The boys are healthy and on target. They had their 3-day exam. There was some concern about the 2-year-old not talking, but the doctor's unconcerned, and it seems like that's the same pattern that the 7-year-old went through. That it was a while before he started talking, and now he talks up a storm. The grandmother believes that Michael may need glasses, and she's taking him for that. The full medical exam is set for October 3rd. The parents are making their visits, and there are no concerns there. I am a little concerned about mom's testimony because I had a specific request from the paternal grandmother that they need 2 high chairs. I'm sorry, I asked for car seats, and I should back up. So they do need 2 high chairs. Grandmom has priced it, and I would either like the parents be ordered to provide those. They're about $30 each, or I would request concrete services from the department to provide those 2 high chairs. Those high chairs are really necessary because as the court knows, that this is a grandparent placement. These are 2 very active boys and a small child. And so the high chair would really help them at feeding time. I'm also in favor of the parents' request pending a clean drug test that they be allowed to go over and help with taking care of the children on a regular basis. The grandparents asked me for that specifically, and I think as long as they keep making progress in their services, and if they will test clean, I believe that's appropriate and safe for them. That's all I have.
Okay, so based upon the testimony today, the court will continue the placement of the children with their grandmother in the Eagle Lake area. I find that placement's meeting all their physical and emotional needs, and it's the least restricted placement at this time. The plans of service are ordered for the parents. I'm really proud of both Mr. and Mrs. Williams for getting started with their services, especially with a traumatic event in their life, such as the car wreck. So please continue forward with your progress with services. Additionally, today, the court's entering a pre-trial scheduling order and a discovery control plan. Our future hearings in this case will be an initial permanency hearing on January 11th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Additionally, we'll have our second permanency hearing on May 2nd, 2024 at 9 a.m. And if necessary, we'll have a trial on the merits on July 11th, 2024 at 9 a.m. Please be looking for that pre-trial schedule order that will be coming out maybe today, maybe tomorrow from Ms. Bertha Jacobs, my coordinator. So, Mr. and Mrs. Williams, it's very important that you appear at these drug tests so that we know that you're sober. The other thing I will say is even if you're testing positive, if the levels are going down, then we can learn that you're not using. So please make sure to appear for those tests. Based upon the request of the attorneys and the request of the ad litem, I will allow the child advocates in this case to agree to additional visitation, including going over to the house at night to help with the children.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I'm going to order that the Department of Family and Protective Services purchase high chairs for placement. And I will grant Mr. Wilson's good cause exception for not personally visiting with the children at placement. So, Mr. and Mrs. Williams, I must admonish you in this case that each of y'all's parental rights may be further restricted or even terminated unless you're willing and able to provide your children with a safe environment. Do you understand that warning, Ms. Williams?
Yes, sir.
And Mr.
Yes, sir.
Williams, do you understand that warning?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm proud of y'all for getting started, but don't get too comfortable. Make sure you're doing the services and maintaining sobriety. And I'm really sorry to hear about your wreck, but obviously
Yes, sir. Thank you.
you are committed to your children if you're continuing the services while dealing with all those issues. So stay in contact with the department as well as your attorneys, and we'll see you back on January 11th at 10 a.m. And we're set
Yes,
today
sir.
in the
Thank
court's
you, sir.
docket for a
Thank
permanency
you.
review after final order. If we can have announcements of the attorneys, starting with the department, please.
Cindy Sexton for the department.
Okay, Mr. Rowlands
Adam Rowlands, the guardian ad litem for Nico.
and Mr. Grunberger.
Mike Grimberger, I'm the attorney ad litem for Nico.
Okay, and the court does note that Mr. Grunberger is sharing his box with Mr. Adam Vinzer as well as Nico, our 13-year-old. So, Ms. Sexton, who would you like to call as a witness?
I'll call Adam first.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
And has Nico recently put in a new placement?
I'm unaware of. I only have what was given to me in the court report.
Okay, well, we have that. So let me, because we've got the court report. So let me give you, or let me ask you some questions about what Urelli told me the department's okay with. Urelli told me that the department's okay with Nico having supervised visits with his grandmother at the park, and then to include the cousins. Were you aware of that?
Correct.
Okay, so, and it's my understanding that Nico also wants visits with Jordan and his baby sister. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and
Yes.
those are, sorry, and those are Nico's cousins. Is that correct?
Jordan,
It's my brother and sister.
sorry.
I'm sorry,
One-
Nico.
Okay, one at a time, please. I need to hear from Mr. Vinzer first, and then we'll hear from everybody else. So go ahead, Ms. Sexton. And Mr.
Thank-
Vinzer, you're gonna need to speak up, sir.
Okay, so Mr. Venzer, I'm sorry, I believe that Jordan and a baby sister are actually siblings to Nico. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so basically Nico's asking just for more family contact, and is the department okay with giving that to him?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and but you do want the visits between grandmother and Nico to be supervised. Is that correct? Okay, and where is Nico placed right now?
So the information that I was given, all I have is that he is placed in Harris County, Texas.
Okay, and has Nico informed the department that he wants to be adopted by his grandmother? Okay, and do you have any?
Okay, Ms. Sexton, hold on a minute. Mr. Vinzer, remember, I've got a court reporter, so I mean, I can see you shaking your head yes, no. I catch that part, but we need to make sure we have an audible response. So, Ms. Slayton, our
Something wrong with the computer because I'm actually speaking pretty loudly and like they can actually hear me too.
Yeah.
I think there's something wrong with the settings. We're trying to fix it right now.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Sexton.
Microphone or?
Yeah, I've been working on it actually off and on. Normally it's not the people don't have a trouble hearing me. They have trouble. I have trouble hearing them, but
Okay,
let's
it's
see.
fine. I can hear y'all perfect now. So just continue whatever you're doing. Go ahead, Ms. Sexton.
Okay. And has Nico had a phone contact with his sister that's living out of state?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do we have any updates about Nico's schooling that is not in the court report? Do you have any updates?
Not at this time.
Okay. Does the department have any updates at all to give to the judge?
Not at this time.
And Nico's currently in Lockhart, I take it.
We are currently in Lockhart.
Is somebody driving him back to his placement today?
Going back to his placement, yes, you will.
Okay. And who's driving him back?
I believe it's Mr. yourself, right, sir?
No, someone named Lorinda.
Oh, Lorinda Johnson will be driving him back.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to quit while I'm behind. I'm going to go ahead and just pass the witness.
Okay, so Mr. Grunberger, go ahead.
Yes, sir. As far as you've been informed, is Nico up to date on his all his vaccinations, his dental work, other medical work?
Yes, sir, he is.
Okay. And he's attending school regularly?
Yes, sir, he is.
Was there anything else that Ureli told you that you felt was important to relate to the court that we haven't asked?
Not at this time.
Okay, I pass the witness.
Okay, so Mr. Grunberger, obviously Nico's there with you today. So why don't you tell me what you believe is occurring in the case at this point?
Well, Nico came back from Virginia after being there for almost 3 years in July. So he left Child Help, which was a residential treatment center that he'd been at for almost 2 years, and he's back with Mr. and Miss Williams, who were previously in Bryan, Texas, but have moved to Cypress, Texas, outside of Houston. And they have so that placement is going really, really well, I think. They really love Nico there, and he loves them, and he's got some foster siblings that he considers his brothers and sisters. He's going to school at middle school in Cyprus. And I can I tell them what you said about school? Is that all right with you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He said school, not only is it going well, but that he's getting good grades and he likes his teachers, which is, in the whole time that I've known Nico now for over 4 years, that's the first time I've ever heard him say that. It's a nice school. And you can see for yourself, but Nico looks really good. He's grown. He's for a while, I think a few years ago, the meds that he was on were making him kind of heavy set, but he is stretched out and looks and sounds really good, seems really healthy. And I know that he's going to be happy that we're making efforts to get him just in contact with other family members here in Texas that he can be in contact with.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Grunberger. We'll come back to you for a report and recommendation here in a minute. Mr. Rowans, what would you like the court to know today?
Your Honor, I really just want to echo what Glenn said about how well Nico's doing. I'm really glad that Nico is out of Child Help, and exceptionally happy that he's back in the Williams placement. I think that of the 5 years that we've known Nico, I think that his time with the Williams was when he was the most content and the most relaxed. And I met with Nico last week, and he had that same appearance. I think he's doing really well. I think he's where the best place for him right now. I absolutely am in support of him having visits with his grandmother and his siblings, if that can be arranged through CPS. I do think that Nico had an update last week, maybe on a med review. And Glenn, I believe, spoke with Miss Williams yesterday, and I think one of the meds may have been discontinued, but I'll defer to Glenn on that. But again, Nico looks great. He looks like a middle school boy. He's doing really well. I'm really pleased for him, and I think this placement is certainly in his best interest.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rowans. Mr. Grunberger, anything else you'd like to report or recommend today?
Yeah, we'll add about the medications. You know, he's been on, there's several listed in the court report. There's 6 or 7, I think, actually total. And of all the meds he's been on, one of them was for enuresis, bedwetting. He's been off of that now for a while. And Ms. Williams has said she has not had it and has not been having to give to him. Nico said he hadn't been using it for a while at Child Help. So that's really good. He did not need Dramamine also when he drove to the court to Lockhart today. So that's really good. I am waiting. I'm hopeful that we'll get some more results. I know he sometimes feels like the meds that he's on don't really work. Although I think Ms. Williams has said, "Hey, you're doing well. It's not, if it's not broke, let's don't try to fix it." But I do agree that just having a regular med review is a good idea, just to see if some other meds might no longer be necessary over time. But I wouldn't want to do that without doctor's recommendations and knowing what the process is going to be. Other than that, I know Nico wanted to be here in person to see you guys and to be part of the hearing. And, he's just growing up a lot. And that's just a sign, I think, of maturity, of just being and knowing that he's empowered to be a voice, to have a voice in this case and for his own life. I think those are all good developments. So I'm real pleased.
Okay, so Mr. Grunberger, obviously we're not here in person. I apologize for that. Does Nico want to speak to me in chambers? I mean, did he want to speak to me today, or he just want to travel to court? I'm not trying to put any pressure on him. I actually would be happy to meet with him here today for a few minutes, or any other off docket day. We can set something up where, I'm in Columbus a lot, so he doesn't even have to come all the way to Lockhart or somewhere like that. I could meet him, somewhere much closer to where he is.
You want to talk to the judge a little bit right now?
Okay. Why don't we move this portion to
we can go to a private. You can put this in a private breakout room here.
Okay.
I can leave too.
Okay, so we're gonna be off the record for a minute. I'm gonna move. Let's see, 7. I had a good conversation with Nico. Hopefully we'll continue that sometime in the future in person. One thing that Nico did tell me in chambers is that he would like an opportunity to meet with several of his family members. So I think the department needs to look into what family that we can put Nico in contact with.
Sure. And Your Honor, if I could just, and I apologize, I did actually talk to Ureli before the hearing, and she gave me lots of good updates. So I just want everybody to know that Ureli told me she was fine with Nico visiting Jordan and baby sister and cousins and having supervised visits with his grandmother. So I know that Ureli's on top of it, and she knows everybody that Nico wants to see, and she is in support of that, and also just in a nicer environment like the park. So I didn't want everybody to know that.
Okay, so Ms. Session, thanks for that update, because those are things that are very important to Nico, is being able to reestablish contact with some of his family. So now that he's here in Texas, I think we need to try to set that up, whether it's phone, FaceTime, in person, whatever we can do to work out contact between Nico and his family. I will say this is the best I've seen Nico in a really long time. I'm really proud of him. So let's put him in contact with his family again. Okay, so based upon my discussions with Nico, as well as the argument of counsel and the testimony of Mr. Benzer, the court will continue Nico's current placement upon his placements meeting all his physical and emotional needs, and its least restricted placement this time with the Williams family in the Cypress area. Additionally, the court does approve visitation between Nico and his family, including his grandmother, cousins, and siblings. There's also a request by Nico that the department try to locate his mom and see what condition she's currently in, and whether it would be appropriate for him to have any contact with her in the future. Obviously, that would be supervised, but I'm not sure anybody knows what her circumstances are at this point. So I'm not saying I'm ordering that, but I want the department to try to locate her and see how she's doing at this point. It's been several years since Nico's been in Texas, and I think it's fair to Nico to see if his mother can be any part of his life at all.
Yes, sir. I'll check with Ureli on that.
Okay. So our next hearing is currently set for February 8th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. Again, February 8th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. Obviously, since I was not able to meet with Nico in person today, I did tell Nico as well as Mr. Grunberger that I'd be happy to meet with him in person on an off docket day. So, Mr. Grunberger, Mr. Rowans, if your client would like to speak to me again, please let me know. We'll get you on the schedule to either come to Lockhart or one of my other counties, and I can meet with him in person, or if he wants to do it by Zoom, we can do that too. Any other issues we need to take up today?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you everybody for being here today. Nico, have a safe trip back to Harris County, and we'll see you all another day. Maybe excuse final order here in Caldwell County, Texas. We can have announcements of the attorneys, starting with the department, please.
Cindy Sexton for the department.
Okay, Ms. Devaney.
Jessica Devaney, attorney ad litem for the child.
Okay, the court knows that we have Casa with us here today also. Ms. Sexton, who would you like to call as a witness? Go ahead, Ms. Sexton.
Thank you. Ms. Smith, where is Scarlett currently placed?
Scarlett is currently placed at UT Health Houston.
Okay, and what is UT Health in Houston? What is that?
It's a psychiatric hospital.
And how long has she been in the psychiatric hospital for?
She was placed there on September 21st.
Okay, and why was she placed there?
So Scarlett was discharged from Riverview, her placement in Arkansas, on September 15th. At that time, there was no placement available for her, so she was taken to CWAP in South Austin. A TET bed, a temporary emergency placement, was found at Unity on September 20th, and she was placed that day. She lasted about an hour at the placement before she ran away. She was located by law enforcement and was taken to Texas Children's Hospital in Houston due to suicidal ideations. She was there, overnight, and was then we were able to find placement at UT Hospital for her.
Okay, so
to work on her treatment.
Sure. So she's been there for about a week. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then how long is it anticipated that she stay there?
So we were excited actually when we knew that she had to go to psych hospital that we were able to get to UT Houston because it is a more in-depth inpatient and not just a week or just a week. It's about sometimes it's up to 6 weeks. So we're excited that she's going to be able to have that time to work on her treatment and not be discharged in a week and trying to find placement and maybe have CWAP again.
Sure, but she was in RTC until September 15th, right? And now she's back in a psychiatric hospital. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did Scarlett not do well in CWAP?
Scarlett does not do well in CWAP. She does escalate quickly while she's there. The reason that she was discharged from Riverview is because she did complete the time that was allowed on the contract. She continues to need the inpatient treatment with a more secure and stable placement.
So what is the plan for Scarlett after she's, after she leaves her current placement?
Well, there's a current CPU search going on. I know that she is dual assigned, and we are going to be looking. I think we would like to find another CSC, a child specific contract for Scarlett, if not an RTC. We are looking outside of the box. The department is looking outside the box in case we are unable to find a placement because we don't want any children in CWAP. So we have looked back at the Crowders, her grandparents. We are taking it slow, but we have requested a kinship home study and some UAs just to make sure that we are covering all those bases. But we want to make sure that we have an A, B, C plan for Scarlett so we do not end up in CWAP.
So she was actually at the Crowders beforehand though, right?
She was before she came to adoptions.
Okay. And so what would be different this time?
We are hoping to give the Crowders more resources to educate them and have expectations on them that they are able to follow.
Okay. And as far as Scarlett, what is going on with her schooling right now because of all of this?
So she will be able to attend school there. That is the expectation. And I do know that Ureli, who's covering for Sarah right now, is working on that with them.
Okay. And is she in therapy right now?
She is in therapy, and that is part of her treatment at the psych hospital.
Okay. And has she expressed a desire to go home to her mother or see her mom?
This is Scarlett continues to say that she wants to go home to her mother. She thinks she has unrealistic expectations of her mother, and but Sarah continues to talk to her that her mother is not making the decisions that would put Scarlett first. And so, yes, Scarlett continues to have that in her mind, but Sarah continues to talk to her about that.
Okay. And is she having any kind of contact with her mother?
She is having supervised contact with her mother.
What kind of contact, do you know?
Phone
Contact with her mom? Okay. And are there any other updates for the court?
Not at this time.
Okay, I pass the witness.
Ms. Devaney.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this point, what is Scarlett's level of care?
I can look 1 second if you'll give me one. I don't know off the top of my head. She is specialized.
And for your child specific contracts, would that be for placements outside of Texas again?
Those are most of them are, but some of them can be in the state of Texas.
And the ones y'all are looking at, are they outside of the state of Texas, or are they here in Texas?
We are looking at all placements at this time.
Do y'all have any other facilities that a specialized child could go to that are within your contracts?
We do, but at this time they have not offered a placement for her.
And you said that y'all are also looking into the Crowders as possible placement. Is there any other family or fictive kin that you guys can look into, or that you have looked into?
I know that Sarah has been looking at trying to find appropriate family, but I don't think that at this time we're currently looking at other family.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Sexton.
No other questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Any other witnesses?
No, sir.
Okay. Ms. Devaney, any witnesses?
I don't have any witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay. Good morning, Ms. Dinkler. Ms. Dinkler, what would CASA like me to know today?
I know the department, we're all doing the best we can to try to locate any appropriate family members. We're still trying to figure out where Scarlett is with her education. Often she would not participate in school, but also I think the last placement, they didn't have a teacher for some time. So when the department or CASA would request educational records, it's been like pulling teeth. And we did get some documents. It's hard to make heads or tails like where she's at academically, but she's had a lot of disappointments and placement breakdowns, and we have not seen a lot of progress since her out-of-state placement.
So, Ms. Dinkler, what's the most recent educational records you have seen? I mean, what grade do they place her in?
I can forward them to you. I can't make sense of it. There's percentages of completion and hours, and it doesn't really make any sense. Like on a daily goal, it will say 40 something hours or 30 something hours. I really can't make any sense. I would think she would probably still be considered to be in the 8th grade. She is very smart and has brought her grades up. I just feel her longing for family connections is just very great. She has struggled. For the most part, her mom has been appropriate in the conversations, but there are times where, Freddie's name is brought up. It's just the saddest thing. And if there was any family, we would hope that she could get there. I'm going to do my best to figure out where she is at educationally. But I would guess that she's still considered to be in the 8th grade. We received some records about 2 weeks ago, maybe, or at the end of last week from the last placement.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dinkler. Ms. Devaney, are you looking into the educational aspect of her life like Ms. Dinkler?
Not to the extent that Ms. Dinkler is. She did just send me this morning those records. And so I went through them before court today. It does look like when she does work, she does well, but the percentage of completion is low for almost all the subjects. And so I think that is probably the major issue, is just her doing the work, not so much how well she does on the work. But I'm happy to look into any of that further along with Ms. Dinkler.
I mean, I think one of the things frustrating for a child is someone that's actually smart enough to do all the work, and then they're not given any work to do. So we need to try to keep her on task. It's not going to help her out long term if she falls behind significantly with her education.
Absolutely.
So, Mr. Van, anything you'd like to report or recommend today for Scarlett?
Scarlett wants to be with her mother. Unfortunately, we had a meeting a couple of days ago, and it's clear that her mother still maintains a relationship with the perpetrator in this case. And so I don't know, I let Scarlett know that I doubted the court or CPS or CASA would agree to her returning to her mom while that relationship maintains. So she's disappointed, but she has made it clear that she'll go to any family member. She wants to be with family. She'll do whatever it takes. I know there's concerns with her behaviors, but quite honestly, when she was in a fictive kin placement, we weren't seeing these behaviors. She still had some because she's a teenager who's gone through trauma, but not like we're seeing right now. So if any of this family can be placement, that's where we want her. At this point, though, the issue isn't the department. The issue is the family. The grandparents said they would take her, and now they're saying, well, we've got some medical issues. We'll let you know at the end of October. So at this point, I'm just worried that they're trying to save face and in reality have decided they won't take her in. So I would like to give kudos to the department. I feel like they have tried really hard in this case. I don't want Scarlett out of state, but if that's the only option available, I do believe that would be better than CWAP.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Devaney. Ms. Sexton, anything else from the department today?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so obviously I don't want to see Scarlett sent out of state either, but CWAP is probably the worst place for her. So please continue to try to find placements within the boundaries of the state of Texas. If she has to go out of state, make sure that everybody's agreeable to her movement. I will continue Scarlett's current placement. Obviously, we need to find her a less restrictive placement, hopefully with a family member or fictive kin. I do think that she's kind of, I mean, from the report that I read and have read in the past, I mean, her behaviors, I agree, are worse when she's in some type of a facility than they are when she's with family or fictive kin. So that's a hard thing because, you know, for her, she's going to be moving between potentially RTCs. So if we can find family members that we can work with and even provide, you know, potential support, I mean, we could even potentially find a placement where Scarlett, you know, had a provider during the day or went somewhere for the day and then came back home, you know, and spent the night back in the home. So please be creative with the placements. I'd really like to see her not leave the state of Texas if absolutely necessary. The department's conservatorship is continued. Ms. Devaney, I will authorize you to go visit your client.
Thank you.
Obviously, she's kind of in a state of crisis at this point. So, you know, pick your day wisely. Hopefully she won't be too upset the day that you would see her.
Yes, sir. And I was able to speak with her, and I'm going to continue to speak with her regularly at her request. She sounded pretty good, surprisingly. She did well during our phone call, but I will schedule that, and hopefully it will be a good day for her.
So based upon the testimony that she was, you know, had some suicidal ideation, I mean, Ms. Devaney, do you think she was just attention seeking, or do you think she truly wanted to hurt herself?
I tend to lean towards it's more attention / I mean, she has stated to, I don't remember who it wasn't to me, but she stated to someone that essentially she's going to just keep burning these placements until we put her with family. And so I tend to think that it was kind of more towards that, but it's hard to know for sure.
Well, she's 14 and, you know, she's getting older. And so if she keeps burning the placements too bad or does something that she'll regret, she'll end up in adult incarceration. So please make sure to start reminding her of that too. I mean, it's one thing to, you know, threaten to hurt yourself, but if you hurt another person, then you'll end up locked down in a system that I don't have any control over. So please remind her that her behavior is really important. And there's two things that she can control, and that's her education and her behavior. And obviously we're not doing the greatest job of controlling her education. So let's look into that too.
Yes, sir.
Our next hearing will be on February 8th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Again, February 8th, 2024 at 10 a.m. If we need to come back sooner than that concerning placement issues or education, please let us know, file an appropriate motion, and we'll get you on the today on the court's docket for a permanency review before final order. We can have announcements to the attorney, starting with the department, please.
Cindy Sexton for the department.
Mr. Manuel.
Zach Manuel, attorney for respondent mother.
Ms. Crouch Bartlett.
Tiffany Crouch Bartlett, attorney ad litem for all three boys.
And Ms. Harding.
Tracy Herding for the intervening paternal grandparents and placement of the oldest of Noah.
Okay, the court also notes that we have CASA with us today, as well as representatives from the Department of Family and Protective Services. This section, who would you like to call as a witness?
I would like to call Candy, Your Honor. We are missing Miss Benford.
Go ahead, Ms. Sexton.
Thank you. Your Honor, I'm sorry, before I start asking Candy questions, I just wanted to let everybody know that we have done on Mr. Weezar. He's represented by Glenn Grunberger. There was an affidavit that we did a motion for Sci-Fi Pub, which was granted, and that was had a little problem getting payment. We finally did, and the affidavit was filed, and it was the court report by the newspaper, and that was done on the 29th of August. So we do have proof of alternatives, proof of service on him.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Sexton.
Thank you. Ms. Pratt, where are the children currently placed?
The youngest child, Noah, is placed in oh goodness, what's the name of the city? I can't remember. He's with his maternal grandparents, the Hernandezes.
And how is he doing there?
He's doing great there. He's thriving.
Okay. And where are the other two children placed?
Jaden and Adrian are in Austin with their great grandmother, or their great grandmother. Yeah.
And how are they doing in that placement?
They're doing quite well.
All right. And is their both placements able to meet all the children's needs?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And where are the parents having visits with the children?
Patricia is having visits in Kyle at a visit center there. And the father, Joshua, is having visits in Cedar Park.
Is that also at a visit?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And is the department asking for and that was by court order, correct?
Yes, it was.
And is the department asking for the location of the visits and the visit supervisors to be changed?
Yes, we are.
Okay. And what are we asking for?
We're asking that the Hernandezes be able to supervise the visits and combine the visits with Patricia and Josh and all three boys at the same time.
Okay. So it'd be both parents, all three boys at the same time, supervised by the grandparents and paternal grandparents. And where would that occur?
The boys would like to see it outside somewhere, maybe at a park or even a restaurant where they could have dinner together. Also like to have visits supervised by the Moreros, Belia, at her home so that they can engage in family therapy with Rhonda Caffey.
Okay. So how many, as far as the paternal grandmother, how many hours a week would the department be comfortable with?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Sure. How many hours a week of visits supervised by the paternal grandparents?
I don't have a set amount of time, maybe an hour or two for at least maybe 2 hours for the outing.
Okay. And then in addition to those 2 hours a week, you would also want who's Rhonda Caffey,
she's the therapist for the children.
Okay. And so she wants now to have the family participate in therapy?
Yes, she would like that.
And would that occur at the Marrero household?
Yes. And she would like to see it be kind of a family setting where they maybe have dinner together, and then she would join them after dinner and do the family therapy sessions. So that would be, 2 or 3 hours as well.
Okay. And that would be in addition to the visit supervised by the paternal grandparents. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. And right now, as far as the court order, how do you meet with the parents? How do you communicate with them?
Unfortunately, I'm having to meet with them virtually right now.
Okay. And that's because of a court order?
Yes, it is.
And are you asking for that to be changed?
I am.
And what would you like that changed to?
I would like to visit with them in person. I feel like I need to go to the home and see the home and visit with them in their home environment.
And have you talked to them about that?
I have.
And do they feel comfortable with that?
Yes, they do.
Okay. And let's talk about Mr. Weezar. Have you had any contact with him?
I have not.
Okay. But you're aware of the fact that that there was a citation by publication done for him. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. And can you tell us how Mr. Hernandez is doing on his services?
He's doing great. He has completed his protective parenting class. He is continuing his BIP classes. I think he's about at 19 out of 36. He gets really good progress notes. He's participating. He's able to talk about what he's learning. He has recently engaged in a fatherhood parenting class. It's like a nurturing fatherhood. And I'm hoping to get that approved to substitute for the nurturing families. There's been a conflict with the schedule of nurturing families and his BIP. They're at exactly the same time. So he went out on his own and found this nurturing fatherhood class, and he enrolled in it on his own voluntarily. He's also engaging in individual therapy with Tina Nunley, and they are both engaging in couples therapy also with Tina. And he did his OSAR evaluation, and there was no recommendations from the OSAR.
And he has continued to test clean on his drug tests. Is that correct?
Yes, he has.
So is Mr. Hernandez in compliance with his family plan of service?
He is in compliance, yes.
Okay. And how is Ms. Martinez doing on her family plan of service?
She's doing equally as well. She is currently full-time employed at a nursing home, where she just recently went from part-time and got promoted to full-time. She completed her protective parenting class. She completed her BIP class. She's in nurturing families with Erin Mendoza. She is in individual therapy with Tina Nunley and couples therapy. And she did 2 OSAR assessments, and both of them came back that she did not meet the criteria for IOP.
And what about her drug test?
She is drug tested. Every drug test I've had for her since I took over the case has been negative, and that's ETGs and UAs. And she's going to go today for her next hair test.
Okay. And would it be safe to say that there's been a turnaround in this case?
I would say yes.
The parents are doing a lot, seem like they're doing a lot better.
Yeah, they're doing a lot better, and they communicate really well with me. Again, we're just doing the virtual communication. We've had Josh and I've had a few phone calls, but other than that, I'm having no issues whatsoever.
Okay. And if an attorney were to ask you for what the department's position for an extension would be on this case, what would be the department's position on that?
The department's position is that we're not in favor of the extension until we get those hair tests back.
Okay.
Trisha's doing hers today, and Josh is doing his on October 18th.
Okay. And if those hair tests come back for both parents clean, then what would be the department's position?
It's my understanding at that point we would be in favor of the extension.
Okay. And any updates from any of the providers that you'd like to share with the court?
Everything is positive. I don't have any bad reports from anybody. Everybody says that they're engaging, they're participating. Everything seems to be going quite well.
All right. I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Pratt, first of all, Ms. Martinez has made all of her visits, correct? Or at least the vast majority?
I think she missed one, but there was a scheduling error with the facility and her work schedule. But other than that, she's made every visit.
Okay. And all those visits go well?
Yes, they do.
Okay. So she's engaged and the kids are happy to see her?
Yeah, they're happy to see her. She usually brings them snacks and food. They sometimes go outside and play catch, or just engage together. Yes, they're going well.
Okay. I'm not so worried about the extension today. We have a few months before the dismissal, but I guess my question would be, if the grandparents are willing to supervise, sounds like both parents are fully engaged in their services. My client's tested clean, as you said, for every single drug test. I know there were a few alcohol tests earlier on, but I guess my question to you would be, what would be the concern for grandparents being able to supervise more frequently than 2 hours a week?
I don't think there is a concern, to be honest with you. I would just need to staff that with my supervisor. We would really like to see those supervised visits be combined so that they can relate together as a family. But as far as length of time, I don't have an issue with giving them more time. I just need to staff that with Patricia.
Okay. And if they're willing and the grandparents are willing to maybe have them come over, whether it's together or separately, depending on their work schedules, to help out with dinner and bedtime and things like that through the week. I mean, would that be something that you would be willing to staff?
I would be, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Also, as far as the permanency goal, I believe, what is the current permanency goal?
Right now, it is still relative adoption with the concurrent of reunification, and I have staff to flip that. And again, we're waiting for the hair test before we do that.
Okay, so if the hair tests are clean, you will be staffing to change that goal back to reunification?
Yes, I will.
Okay, no further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Grunberger.
Yeah, I was on it just a few minutes late. Has the court found that service has actually now been perfected against for my client or for putative client?
Yes, Ms. Sexton announced at the beginning of the hearing that your client had been in fact served by, I believe, either substituted service. Is that Ms. Sexton? If you'll fill in Mr. Grunberger, please. Okay, now you're muted. Everybody wants to be muted.
Well, sometimes I have, try to be better on that. On August 29th, the Lockhart newspaper submitted an affidavit and was filed with the court saying that they had run a cite by publication on him.
Judge, I do have I have no instructions for my client at this time, so I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Harding?
Ms. Pratt, does the department trust the two current caregivers for the boys?
Absolutely.
And do you think it would be appropriate, particularly with the upcoming holiday season, that the family figure out a visitation schedule and supervision schedule for the boys and then provide that to the child advocates?
I think that's a great idea.
And then we can, with a court ordered minimum of maybe 2 hours a week.
That sounds good to me.
Okay. And then is there any talk of having maybe a family group conference or a mediation once we get the hair test back and hopefully they're clean?
We have not talked about that yet, but that would be a family group conference would not be a bad idea.
I have no further questions.
Mr. Crouch-Bartlett?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Pratt, at this time, all three of the boys are consistent with asking for to be able to spend a lot more time with both parents in this case. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
And once family therapy between the parents and the boys begins and continues for maybe a few weeks, if all visitation is going well, do you foresee the department agreeing to some unsupervised time in the near future?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
Okay, Ms. Sexton?
No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Manuel, any other questions of the witness?
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Any other witnesses, Ms. Sexton?
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Manuel, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Grunberger?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Harding?
No witnesses, Your Honor, but I find myself wondering if this is the same case that I've been on in the past with these parents and his family. So my client's quite impressed with the progress of her son and the mother of Noah.
Ms. Crouch-Bartlett?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay, let's see. Where did I move my CASA? There we go. Okay, Mr. CASA, allow me to know today.
So reporting on the children and their current placement, as everyone's reported here today, the children are doing incredibly well. I've seen a lot of improvements in Adrian and Noah and Jaden. They're all doing very well in their placement, and they would really enjoy the opportunity to be able to have those visits with both parents. At this time, CASA would support the position of the department. And I apologize, sir.
It's okay. Take your time.
Should we choose not to move forward with an extension, we would ask that we move to mediation.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Crouch-Bartlett, do you have a report and recommendations for the court today?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. Thank you. First of all, I would like to request an extension in this case. I think we do have extraordinary circumstances. The parents have made phenomenal progress over the last few months. I'm very impressed with also the boys' progress. As Mr. Benaquisto said, they all seem to be happier in general. I would request that family therapy begin as soon as Ms. Caffey is available, and that all visitation occur in a family setting or in a park, restaurant, as Ms. Pratt suggested, and that those visitations be as frequent as possible so that the boys can spend more time with their parents and with each other. I'd also like to request a finding of good cause for not visiting the boys in person, as I tested positive for COVID 10 of the last 12 days and was ill with that for several days. So I think that this case is like looking at a very different set of circumstances right now. I'm very, very pleased for the children. And Ms. Caffey, I would just like to add, has been an incredible advocate for what's best for these boys as well, and has done a great job in working with the family.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Harding, anything else on behalf of your clients, the interveners?
Your Honor, no, they just wanted to let the court know that they are more than willing to supervise contact between both parents and Noah, and all of the boys and would appreciate the ability to try to work that out with the great grandma and the placement of the other boys so they can maybe make this a more family-like setting and directed by the family as opposed to directed by the department, with notification to the child advocates as to what their plans are.
Okay, Mr. Manuel.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm in agreement. I like the idea of having maybe an FGC if the hair follicles come back clean, and if not, then having a mediation. I like having that option, but I do think we should have a meeting to discuss, the future of this case. As far as the visitation goes, I would like to ask that be left up to the grandparents and the parents to be able to choose a time that works for them that's in a family setting, whether it's once a week or, 4 times a week. I mean, the more the parents are engaged in seeing their children, I think the better for everybody to know whether or not they're really making these changes that everybody believes they're making. And I say that because, this really is a night and day difference from the beginning of this case. I don't see that there's any concerns at this time to, keep their visitation limited to 2 hours a week. I think the department's planning to move them to unsupervised pretty soon. So I would request that be left up to the grandparents and the parents to figure out a schedule as frequently as they're willing and able to make that work. As far as the extension goes, I don't care one way or another, whether it's today or whether it's closer to the dismissal deadline.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manuel. Ms. Sexton, anything else from the department?
No, sir. Thank you.
Well, I've been saying a lot today that I'm proud of families and different people and cases, but I mean, this case is, Mr. Hernandez, you should be really proud of yourself. So should Ms. Martinez. And I do note that she just joined us here in the last 2 or 3 minutes. This case has really changed, and that's not something the court did. That's something the family chose to do. And Mr. Hernandez, I don't know what it is that motivated you and Ms. Martinez to make changes for your children, but whatever it is, I'm really glad it happened, because I think for everyone here to come and say they're surprised, they think it's great, and that they're think that you're in much a better place. That's what these cases are about. These cases are about making changes so that you can provide a safe and stable environment. And this is why we do these, because even when people don't think it's going to happen, and it does happen, then we are happy to put kids back with their family and with their parents. So please continue on in a positive manner. With that being said, I am going to order that visitation may increase by agreement of the child advocates with a minimum of 6 hours a week. Whether that's supervised or unsupervised, I'll let the department and the child advocates work on that. I think it is appropriate for the parties to meet in a family team meeting or a family conference, whatever you want to call it, and kind of make a plan as a group, as a family going forward as to what's best for everybody in this case and best for these children. I do find that both parents that are before the court, well, actually, I guess we have more parents than that, but as far as Mr. Hernandez and Ms. Martinez, I do find that those 2 parents are in compliance with their court order plans of service now that Mr. Grunberger's client, Mr. Weezar, is before the court. Obviously, we need to try to locate him if at all possible. The court does continue the placements of all 3 children subject to the suit. I find their placements are meeting all the physical and emotional needs and are the least restrictive placements at this time. The court will order family therapy to occur with Ms. Kathy. I know that she's been working this case really hard. Before I forget, I will withdraw the court's prior order that limited the contact between the department and the parents. We'll withdraw that order so that they may have in-person contact between Mr. Hernandez, Ms. Martinez, and the department, or the department being Ms. Pratt, and actually going to the placement, or not placement, to the office. I think I had prohibited them from going to the physical office there in Lockhart or anywhere else. So Mr. Hernandez and Ms. Martinez may actually go to the CPS office too. Okay.
Your Honor,
go ahead, Ms. Sexton.
I did have one request that I forgot about. There was a prior order that that CPS go out to the Moreros home once a week, which they've been doing, but things are going so well now. They've talked to kinship is not going out there as much, and the department would ask that they only have to go out there once a month because they think things are going that well.
So ordered, Ms. Sexton.
Thank you. And as far as
Go ahead.
a minimum of 6 hours a week, that can be supervised by either the Moreros or the paternal grandparents, correct?
Yeah, it can be supervised anybody that the child advocates agree to. And I'm doing this on purpose because I want to set a floor, but I don't want to set the maximum. So with this case being very fluid, if everybody is happy with the parents' progress, then I assume that the contact and visitation will be this, improving and increasing over time. Okay, any other issues we need to take up today? So, Ms. Martinez, Mr. Hernandez, congratulations on working so hard on this case. Stay in contact with the department as well as your attorneys, and you have something to smile about today. So enjoy it. You've been working really hard. Our next hearing in this case is currently set for a trial. That is November 30th, 2023 at 9 a.m. I am open to considering a motion for an extension based upon extraordinary circumstances. So if you believe it's appropriate in the case, please get that on file and we'll get you on the docket prior to the trial date. I'm very optimistic that the drug test will be negative, so I don't think that'll be a problem. So hopefully I'm not surprised. Okay, thank you everybody for being here today. And we're set today on the court's docket for a permanency review after final order. We have announcements of the attorneys, starting with the department, please.
Cindy Sexton for the department.
Okay, Mr. Wilson.
Philip Wilson, attorney ad litem for the child.
Okay, the court also knows that we have the department with us. So, Ms. Sexton, who would you like to call as the witness?
Ms. Trujillo.
Section. Okay, Ms. Trujillo.
Thank you. Ms. Trujillo, where is Uriah currently placed?
She remains in her foster home with the Quinteros in the Schulenburg area.
And how is she doing in that placement?
She continues to do really well. She's happy, sassy. She's current on her medical and her dental. She is receiving speech therapy, and she is also receiving behavioral therapy.
And is the placement able to meet all of their needs, her needs?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And do the parents in this case remain incarcerated?
Yes, both Mr. Speaks and Ms. Romero are incarcerated.
And did the parents request a de novo of the trial we recently had?
Yes, they did.
And will that be heard by Judge Schneider on Monday at 1:30?
Yes.
Okay. And since the trial, has the paternal aunt had any contact with Uriah?
We had trial on 8/29 and 8/30. On 8/30, she did miss her phone call. She is required to confirm the day prior, so she missed that one. She attended the virtual call on 9/6, and I have not had any contact from her since then. So it's been 3 weeks straight that she has not had any contact with Uriah or myself.
Okay. And she knows she has to get in touch with you for either a call or an in-person visit?
Yes, we have exchanged text messages, and I've let her know the rules, and she is well aware of it.
Okay. Are there any other updates for the court?
No, not at this time.
Okay, I pass the witness.
Mr. Wilson.
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay, so Mr. Trujillo, tell me, since our trial, what contact, if any, you've had with the aunt?
We exchanged messages on 9/6, and she had her virtual video call then. And since then, she has not reached out to me at all.
Okay, section, maybe you can help me. When did I release my decision in the case? Do you remember?
It was
9/8.
9/8. Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Rios, so even before I announced my decision in the case, the aunt was not having communication with you or Uriah?
She had a video call on 9/6, but she did miss the one on 8/30.
Okay. And have the parents contacted you? Have you had any contact with them since trial?
The courtesy worker has gone out to visit Mr. Speaks. She went this week, and he did inform her that he will continue to appeal until his daughter is placed with his sister. Miss Romero, I have wrote her a letter to let her know the decision, as well as I have spoken to her mother, who was going to have a phone call with her.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Trujillo. Mr. Wilson, do you have a report and recommendations for the court today?
Yes, Your Honor. Not much. Child's doing great. Being very well taken care of. The family's anxious to get to the adoption. I know we have to get through the de novo hearing, and hopefully, we can get that adoption consummated pretty quickly.
Well, Mr. Wilson,
That's all I have.
if my decision is upheld, it sounds like Mr. Speaks intends to appeal it. So that,
Yeah, Judge, I get that, but it's expedited, so I think we'll get a pretty quick decision back on the case, and hopefully we can get the adoption in the next 3 or 4 months, ideally.
Okay, well, Mr. Wilson, the optimist. We'll see. What I
Yes.
like is that
Yes.
Uriah is in a safe and stable placement right now, and so she'll just stay there until either the district court or the appellate court does something different. So, Ms. Sexton, anything else from the department today?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So based upon testimony today, the court will continue Uriah's current placement. I find that her current placements meet all her physical and emotional needs, and it's the least restricted placement this time. As to the de novo next Monday, Ms. Sexton, please let Bertha and I know when a decision is made in that case so that we can put it in our notes and
Yes,
make
sir.
sure we're tracking that.
Yes, sir.
Our next
One update
hearing-
on that, Your Honor, is it just briefly, it may be by submission. I think there's a motion afoot to just do it by submission. which
Well,
would be great.
actually, Carrie, Ms. Ward filed a motion to ask for one of her witnesses to
Oh, right,
to actually testify remotely, but if that's denied, then
right.
yeah, then it would be by submission.
Yeah, then it'd be by submission. Yep.
Okay, well, I'll let y'all handle that because that's not my court at this point. So let's just Snyder handle that. Our next scheduled hearing in this case is on February 8th, 2024 at 10:30 a.m. on the February 8th for a review hearing. If we can have announcements of the attorneys, starting with the department, please. Mr. Best.
Sorry about that. I had I don't know, some kind of technical difficulty that just popped up right then. I apologize. But Kenneth Best, I'm here representing the department. We're ready. The caseworker with me is Erin Davis, and her as well as her supervisor Patricia Vasquez.
Okay, so Mr. Grunberger.
My announcement is not ready. As of last notice that I had, my client hadn't been served. I also haven't been served with a copy of the court report. I haven't seen a copy of a status report. For some reason, I was left out of the loop on most of the items served through file time or whatever's happened, although I did get Ms. Crouch Bartlett's request to sign off on the Rule 11 for not appearing by Zoom, but I haven't gotten anything else in the last month.
Okay, so obviously Mr. Best and his assistants are going to be looking into that. And as to your not ready announcement, I'll check in on the service on your client here in a minute. Mr. Cadmar.
Douglas Cadmar covering for Mr. Hilly for mother, Miss Ramirez.
Okay, and Ms. Crouch Bartlett.
Tiffany Crouch Bartlett, attorney and guardian ad litem for Zachary.
Okay, so Mr. Best, tell me about the status of service on Mr. Michael Bell in this case.
It was my understanding that we were having problems actually locating his address at the moment. I will need to follow up with the caseworker after this to see if we had an update on that. I forgot to address that specifically when we staffed this yesterday. I will need to check in on that again, though, Your Honor.
Okay, so I'll remind you, we're over 60 days into this case. So if you can't get him personally served, you need to seek substituted service.
Absolutely.
Additionally, Mr. Grunberger, I'm going to grant his not ready announcement, but he is a part of this case, and so is his client, Mr. Bell. So you need to make sure he gets copies of every document in this case. So please talk to your assistant about that if you're not the one responsible for doing that. Okay,
Yes,
the court also knows that we have CASA with us today, as well as the mother, Miss Marissa Ramirez, is with us. And let's see, and we have Superior Health also observing today. So, Mr. Best, who would you like to call as a witness?
Your Honor, I'd call the caseworker, Miss Erin Davis. And you're the caseworker in this case, correct?
Yes.
All right, and have we gotten back? Well, actually, let's start off with how old is the child in this case?
Zachary is 9.
Zachary's 9. Did we request and get completed home studies back on a couple of relatives in this case?
Yeah. Yes, we did.
All right, and who are those home studies run on?
Marissa Ramirez and Rosa Ramirez and James Tankerlessly.
Okay.
And
And then wasn't there another one?
And Virginia De La Rosa.
Okay. All right. And then, so for the first group, where are those folks all living together?
Yes, they are.
Okay. So at this time, who's all living in that household?
It is James Tankersley, Rosa Ramirez, Marissa Ramirez, and Leland Ramirez.
Okay. And so that includes mom, correct? The mother in this case?
Yes.
Okay. And was that home study approved?
No.
Okay. Why was it not approved?
The reason why the department did not approve the home study is because Mr. James Tankersley could not provide proof of income, and he has a criminal history of assault causing bodily injury and assault of causing bodily injury towards a family member in 2001 that does require a cancer safety evaluation and PD approval. Rosa Ramirez does have CPS history from 1991 to 2006 for neglectful supervision and physical neglect that the disposition was ruled as reason to believe for her own children. And Ms. Ramirez does now have a current CPS case for using methamphetamines. And she has reported that she has been clean and sober now. And Virginia De La Rosa, which is the child of Rosa Ramirez, did say that she did have concerns with Mr. James Tankersley. And another reference did not want to be used as a reference or even involved with the CPS case. And the home does not have any smoke detectors at this time.
Okay. And so at the moment, the mother, among other things, the mother is still living there. Is the mother currently working?
Yes, she did tell me that she does work at Domino's in Lockhart, Texas.
Verify. Do we approximately how much is she earning to your knowledge on a, let's say a monthly basis?
On a monthly basis, about under 2,000 a month.
Okay. So does the department have concerns about the possibility of the mother moving out if that's her only basis of income?
Yes.
Do they have a vehicle they could use to transport the child when need be?
Miss Marissa Ramirez stated that she does have a vehicle, but that it does not work at this time. But she does not. The department also has a current concern, but she does not, because she does not have a driver's license.
Okay. All right. And then the other home study, how is that individual related to this case?
Virginia De La Rosa is the sister of Marissa Ramirez and the daughter of Rosa Ramirez, and she's the aunt for Zachary.
Okay. Was her home study approved?
At this time, we did deny, but I haven't e-filed the home study yet, just because we did get it before the case, before the court hearing, so we didn't have the proper amount of time to review it.
Okay.
She is backhanding.
All right. So.
Muted.
All right. So. And where does she live?
Miss Virginia lives in Houston, Texas.
Okay. And then, where is the child currently placed?
In Bastrop, Texas.
All right. And are they willing to? Much longer are they willing to continue to be a placement?
Till Friday.
Okay. So what is it? What is the department? What would the department like to do as far as placement of the child? What is our ideal in this situation?
Our ideal is to place Zachary with his aunt at this time.
I'm sorry, at least for me, you cut out there. Could you repeat that again?
I did do a CPU form for him for foster care.
Mm-hmm.
I did hear back from them today, but they said that they cannot give me anything until October the 4th. But Zachary, I specifically asked for placement for him for the 29th, since we don't have approved home studies at the moment for him, for where we could have a possible placement for him to go. But I did do a CPU form for him for foster care in a group home.
All right, and so the aunt in Houston here, what was the reason for her home study being denied again?
She has just minor concerns. There's frequent visitors that come to the home that need to be checked on by me. Backgrounds need to be done. There's like minor things in her home that need to be fixed, as far as like just stuff like regarding like the outside of the home and things like that, but nothing like super major.
Okay, Ms. Davis, I've been trying to be a good listener here, but I really want to focus on safety concerns. Like, I'm not really interested in transportation. Those are the kind of things that people work out. I really want to focus on safety. So if the department is not approving these home studies, I'd really like to kind of get that as a part of your testimony, what the safety concerns are in these homes. Because right now, the department has no plan other than just pie in the sky hoping for a foster home. So let's focus on safety concerns for the placements that the family is provided to the department. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Best.
Okay. All right, so what are the safety concerns for placement with the grandmother in this case?
So we did do a drug test on Miss Ramirez, Rosa Ramirez, and James Ramirez, and James did test positive for a positive for UA and a hair follicle for marijuana. He did disclose to me that before he did used to use marijuana back in the past, but our safety concerns is that he's going to be using marijuana while the child is still in the home, and he still does reside in the home. Miss Rosa Ramirez did test negative for her hair test and her UA. They both came back negative. And we do not have, and our safety concerns are just with her past CPS history from before. But I did have major concerns with James due to him not being honest with me when I did ask about him if he ever used any drugs before, are currently using at this time, which he did tell me that he is not.
Okay. Also, the mother's living there in that home, correct?
Yes, she is.
Okay. And then for the other home, for the one in Houston, with the aunt, Virginia, what safety concerns do we have there?
We have no safety concerns at this time.
So our only concerns are more just unknowns for the aunt at the moment.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to pass the witness.
Okay, I'm going to go out of order, and we're going to go to Ms. Crush-Bartlett next.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Davis, is out-of-home placement truly necessary for Zachary at this time?
If based on the department's concerns with Ms. Rosa Ramirez's home study, we do believe that Virginia would be the best possible placement at this time.
Ms. Davis, isn't it true that Zachary is extremely closely bonded to his mother, his grandmother, Rosa, and his step-grandfather, James?
Yes.
And isn't it true that he is adamant that he wants to return to that home as soon as possible?
Yes.
Isn't it also true that Zachary has been suffering from depression in his current placement and that he is not himself at this time?
Yes.
Isn't it very concerning to the department that the trauma that this child has suffered from will be increased even further if he is moved across the state to Houston to reside with his aunt, to whom he is not nearly as closely bonded as he is with his grandmother?
Yes and no, because Ms. Ramirez, I talked to her yesterday and she did state that Zachary is close to his aunt as well. And he has spent a negotiable amount of time at her home and feels comfortable with her as well.
But isn't it true though that there's quite a distance between Houston and Lockhart?
Yes.
And so isn't it also true that the mother in this case has been sober for over 4 months?
She has been sober since June 1st.
And isn't it true that she is also doing fantastic in all of her services that the department has requested of her?
She has been doing some services, but the department does have concerns of the fact that she's not doing stuff in a timely manner and doing stuff at the last minute. She did state that we had our court hearing on August the 31st. And she is just not telling me that she's looking for somewhere to stay. And which I have asked her on multiple occasions. She did tell me that she was looking for a home to stay yesterday, but that she's been waitlisted and she's waiting for the people to get back to her. She has told me that on numerous occasions. she did tell me that she was going to start looking for another job. And with the driver's license, I've been telling her that she should start getting her driver's license since the beginning of this case. And she's now telling me that she hasn't even made an appointment, but is working towards making an appointment.
But Ms. Davis, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. I'm talking about the services, the classes, therapy.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. She has been working towards those.
Okay, so the concern with mom who's only 24 years old, is that she find her own home outside of where she currently resides and have transportation. Is that right?
Yes, and to remain sobriety from using drugs and methamphetamines at this time.
Right, but as you said, she's been sober since June the 1st, and we're about into October, right?
Yes.
So what would be the true safety concern about Zachary being placed with his grandmother, Rosa Ramirez, in the same home with his mom, with an injunction that Mr. Tankersley is not allowed to use any marijuana anywhere near the child or inside the home?
The mom, Ms. Ramirez, needs to demonstrate 6 months of sobriety, and she needs to produce 2 negative hair follicle tests and demonstrate to me in the department more behavioral changes and more engagement in her services at this time.
Isn't it true that the department is concerned about the current state of depression of Zachary?
Yes.
And he is not in individual play therapy or any kind of therapy at this time. Is that right?
Not at this time.
Would the department be willing to contract with Rhonda Caffey, individual play therapist for Zachary, if he is placed in the home with his grandmother and his mother?
At this time, Ms. Ramirez did state that she had a suggestion to use the same therapist that she uses as a possibility for Zachary for individual therapy, but I did tell her that the department would look into contracting services to get Zachary the best individual therapist and play therapist that he needs to address his emotional health.
If Ms. Caffey has indicated to me that she is available to take Zachary as a client, would the department be willing to contract with her?
That would be something that the department would look into.
Okay, thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Cadmar.
In light of your concerns about the child's mental health issues, do you not think that the department could make an exception about the 6-month period and do a replacement with maternal grandmother?
No, that she needs to still since it was for methamphetamines, she needs to demonstrate 6 months of sobriety and produce 2 negative hair follicles for the department.
So there's no exceptions regarding circumstances that may be extreme for the child's best interest.
Circumstances as in what?
The child's mental health issues that may become exacerbated by being placed in a foster home with God knows how many dangers that those places present that we constantly hear about.
Objection calls for speculation.
Mr. Cadmar, you can argue it to me here in a few minutes. I promise I understand, Mr. Cadmar. You
pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Grunberger.
I'm not participating at this time.
Okay. Mr. Best, any questions? And a redirect from Ms. Davis.
Can you just remind the court, what was the original concern that we had with the mother in this case?
The usage of methamphetamines while Zachary was in her current care.
All right. Where was the mother living at that time?
She was living with her mom.
Okay. And did her mother recognize the use of methamphetamines in her home?
No.
Did her mom do anything to prevent the daughter from using methamphetamines around the child at that point?
No.
So the department would continue to have concerns even if the mom was having her care supervised 24/7 by the grandmother in this case, correct?
Yes.
Right. Pass witness.
Ms. Davis, do you have any indicators to you that Ms. Ramirez is at risk of using methamphetamines? Since by your own testimony, she has been sober since June?
Yes, she has. I do believe that she has been sober, and I do believe that she is doing everything that she is doing to get her child back. But to my own testimony, I do believe that she is sober.
Okay, so what risk indicators do you have that Ms. Ramirez is going to relapse?
None.
Okay. Ms. Fresh-Marlin, any other questions for Ms. Davis?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Best, any other witnesses you wish to call?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Crouch Barley, any witnesses you wish to call today?
No witnesses, Your Honor, but I would request that CASA be officially appointed today.
Okay. And Mr. Kapmeyer, any witnesses you wish to call?
No, sir.
Okay, so Ms. Crouch Bartlett, Zachary is your 9-year-old client, so I'm interested in your report and recommendation today.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm very concerned about Zachary. He is one of the brightest and most delightful little boys I've ever represented. But his brightness is dimming significantly in his current placement. He feels left out. He is, in my opinion, being treated unkindly. It is not a loving environment for him. I am deeply concerned about the trauma that he has gone through, and the trauma significantly outweighs any kind of safety concerns, which in fact, in my opinion, do not exist, for Zachary to be either returned to his mother on a return and monitor or placed in the home with his mother, his grandmother, and his step grandfather, and continue the case in that way. But I'm very concerned about his emotional well-being, and I think it's really critical that we look at the trauma issues and further exacerbating those trauma issues by moving him either to a foster home, which would be the worst case scenario, or across the state at a long distance from his mother and his grandmother, to whom he is so closely bonded. I think that the court, and I know that the court can order a placement without an approved home study, and I'm requesting that at a minimum, Zachary be placed with his grandmother and mother today. Thank you.
So, Ms. Crouch Barley, tell me, the department has concerns. So how do I safeguard Zachary while, placing him back with his mother and grandmother is your question?
Yes, Your Honor. I think an order that the mother ensure that Mr. Tankersley is not engaging in any illegal drug use, such as marijuana, in the home or when he is anywhere around Zachary or will be around Zachary. And I think that other than that, and of course, not allowing Mr. Tankersley to transport Zachary anywhere, I think that is the extent of the concerns that I have heard. The grandmother's history with the department is so remote, and Mr. Tankersley's criminal history is so remote that I do not believe it poses any kind of safety risk. And so just ask that the mother be ordered to ensure no marijuana usage in the home, of course, no other illegal substances, but I think that would be the extent that would be required. And I think that this clearly would be best for my client to go back home.
Okay, Mr. Best, anything else on behalf of the department today?
Your Honor, I would just highlight the lack of ability to tell when someone's using drugs, or the lack of protectiveness on the part of the placement that Ms. Crouch Bartlett's advocating for. I don't believe that an order that says to ensure that they're not using drugs around Zachary would be sufficient to actually provide the child with safety. Moreover, while we don't have any special indicators in this case that there's going to be a relapse, it is very common, from my understanding, for meth users to relapse. And I personally would have some concern that Zachary would. I don't want us to be coming back here having to do a removal from a monitored return situation or removal again from that home. I think that would be more traumatic than him staying with his aunt for a little while and then going back with his mother, if that's the way this case ends up, which of course would be the ideal. But realistically, it can be difficult for someone to get off of meth, and 4 months. 4 months just doesn't seem like enough time from either my personal or the department's experience in terms of ensuring that she's not going to relapse.
All right, so Mr. Best, if I go along with what the department's requesting, which is to leave, Zach in substitute care, and I guess as of tomorrow, we don't know where he's going. How do I safeguard Zach's mental health and the trauma that he seems to be experiencing? And nobody's denying that the trauma is occurring and that he's not the same child he was when he came into care. So if I go along with the department's plan, which is to, I guess, put him at the feet of the child placement unit to go to a foster home somewhere, or potentially go to the Houston area with his relative, although it sounds like that home stay was going to be not approved by the department. How do I safeguard Zachary's mental health in this case? because I don't think the department can have it both ways. Either the child can be home and be with his mother, or you can keep him in care, but we have to do something about his mental health. And I haven't heard the second part, like what the department's plan is to safeguard his mental health. So I'm interested in, how that's to occur, because nobody has addressed that if I leave, Zachary not with family.
Well, Your Honor, I would say that either way, to me, it sounds like Zachary is in need of some therapy, and so that would be an appropriate order to be made, although we would ask that we not be ordered to engage with anyone in particular, and rather just the category of therapist that would be appropriate to address his needs.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bass. So it's we're running a little bit late, but I'm glad I spent some extra time on this case. Ms. Ramirez, I'm going to have faith in you in this case. I have a lot of faith in Ms. Croucher-Bartlett, who I think is very experienced. I value her opinion greatly. And this is the same bell that Ms. Croucher-Bartlett has been ringing at almost every hearing. And that's the trauma that, unfortunately, Zachary seems to be experiencing. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to place Zachary back in the home of Marissa Ramirez with your mother, so Zachary's grandmother. Okay, so that's the good part of the hearing. The bad part of the hearing is, Ms. Ramirez, you're now the family cop. You're in charge of making sure that your family is a safe environment. I will tell you right now, if Mr. Tankersley or anyone else is using drugs in that home, I'm likely to remove him again and take him back out of your custody. So that's on you, Ms. Ramirez. I want you to listen to me, okay? Don't speak for a minute. Please just listen. So Mr. Tankersley is not to be alone with Zachary.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And let's see. So, Mr. Ramirez, this is your chance to remain sober and use the things that you've already learned in this case. And I know it's been hard on you and it's been hard on Zachary. And I will say the department, they have policies, and they have policies sometimes for good reason, but they just don't fit the circumstances of you and your son's case. So we're going to do something different. But what I'll say, Ms. Ramirez, is you have to understand that this is not what the department wants. This is what the court and they have a lot of Ms. Croucher-Bartlett and you want. So please don't burn me.
No, sir.
If I have to remove Zach, trust me, I will. If you use drugs again, or you allow him to be in an unsafe environment in your home, I'll take him out again, just like I did the last time. But I have faith in you. If I didn't, I wouldn't put him back there today. So keep him safe. The department is going to come to visit you. They're going to come sometimes announced, and they're going to come sometimes unannounced. They're not there to spy on you. They're there to do their job.
Yes, sir.
Our next hearing in this case is going to be, actually, let's come back sooner than that.
Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to ask that I did speak with Rhonda Caffey. She is available to help Zach in Lockhart. She is an amazing therapist. I'd really love for her to be involved in this case.
Well, if Ms. Caffey is available, I will order therapy to be done by Ms. Caffey, especially if she's available, because I don't want there to be another waiting list for therapy. I had some other notes, and I guess I erased them.
Your Honor, the department would object to any specific person being ordered to be the provider in this situation.
Mr. Best, I'll note your objection, but that's the court's order. If she's available, do you have someone else that's available today?
I'm unaware, Your Honor. I have not looked into that.
Okay. Mr. Best, you don't appear in my court a lot, but I'm going to give you a suggestion to the way you represent the department. If you're going to object to something you don't want me to order, you need to have an alternative. Okay? So that'll make things go a lot smoother. Like, if you don't want me to do something, come up with an alternative.
Well, Your Honor, my alternative was previously proposed, which was to order us to provide the therapist, but not to actually identify a particular therapist in the order. That's my suggestion.
Yep,
The only reason I make the suggestion is because we have procedures that are contained within the government code that we're supposed to comply with, and we're only supposed to be ordered to do a particular service. Specifically, is my understanding, if there is for some reason it's not covered by Medicaid. I have no reason to think that the service would not be covered by Medicaid.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I'm not bound by that same requirement, so I'll order. If you don't like my order, then you can de novo my decision.
I understand, Your Honor.
Your Honor, if I may ask.
Okay, hold on, Mr. Ramirez. We're not done yet, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak here in a minute. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
You're On October 26th. That'll give us about a month to make sure everything's going okay and that Ms. Ramirez doesn't need any additional supports. So we're going to come back on October 26th at 11:30 a.m. Okay. Any other issues we need to address today?
And Your Honor, is CASA officially appointed today? Mr. Judkins is here.
Yes, I did forget that. Thank you. I will appoint CASA as the guardian ad litem for Zachary. So Ms. Ramirez, that's another person that's involved in the case, and CASA, their job is to, they do a lot of things for the court, and they're great people to have around. So please be open to them meeting with Zachary and talking to them about the case. They don't represent any party in this case other than Zachary. It's his guardian ad litem. Okay, any other issues? Okay, thank you, everybody. You may be excused. We'll see you back on October 26th at 11:30 a.m.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm sorry. Woo. Hold on. Ms. Ramirez, I'm sorry. I told you that I let you speak, so go ahead.
Real quick, I had a question as to his enrollment in school. I got him pre-enrolled in the ACE program that starts next week on Monday. So that's after school care. And it's for 2 hours just in case he needs to get caught up on any schoolwork. But we were wondering as to when he was going to be enrolled into Plum Creek. Like, would I have to unenroll him from Bastrop, or would that be the placement?
Okay, so the best person to talk to you about that is, let's see who's still on with us.
I am.
Patricia Vasquez, who's the supervisor. I'm going to let her handle that with you after today's hearing, okay? But she will work with you to get the enrollment done.
Okay.
Okay, so be patient. She'll talk to you hopefully today. Yes?
Okay.
Probably late in the afternoon because we're not done until about 3 to 3:30. So she'll probably talk to you after then.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Martinez, you can call me too if you have questions. Doug Catmar, you got my number.
Okay, thank you.